Hey, good morning, team. It is Tuesday, February 25th. I'm Amy Corr, and I'm here with a different Kevin. I've got the amazing Kevin Rynes. He is VP of Agent Development here at Properties Christie's International Real Estate. And he is going to be here to talk with us a little bit about a thing called the morning routine. I know we all strive for it. Some of us do it better than others. I know that mine is sometimes better than it could be, and sometimes it's worse than it could be. But either way, we're going to talk about it this morning. So before we do, though, let's make sure your coffee, your tea, your power smoothie, your lemon water, whatever it looks like this fine morning, let's fill her up and let's jump into the next episode of Coffee with Amy and Kevin. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Good, good. All right. So I don't know if all of you out there know this, but we also like to call this Kevin Coach Kevin. Because we've had the good fortune of, gosh, this is close to your year anniversary.
Yeah, next week will be 1 year. Yeah.
Wow, he moved into the madness about a year ago.
That's right.
But we had Kevin come on, and it has been so exciting to work with you. I think one of the things that he does extraordinarily well is really helping agents kind of get past those roadblocks, figure out how to move their business forward. So we've nicely coined you Coach Kevin, right? And he has done a lot of that. In fact, he's started a program we have here at this year called Ignite Coaching, where it's a great opportunity for certain agents, who really want to dial deeper into their business. So in doing all of that coaching, I thought, who better to talk to than about a morning routine is somebody who's, kicking everybody's butt right now about developing their businesses. So let's talk about it. Morning routine. Is there a right way? Is there a wrong way? Tell me your idea of what does a morning routine look like? Because I know some people can get up at 5 a.m. and get their motors going. Yes. I'm going to say that's not me anymore. And some people get up and work out, and mornings are great for them. Other people, not so easy. So if my job as an agent or anybody who's supposed to be successful is to get a morning routine going, tell me how I can be successful, no matter who I am.
Sure.
Let's put it that way.
It's a challenge for everybody, right? And so for mindset and morning routine, for me, always starts with not starting with your device, right? No phone, no iPad, no computer. I feel like those who start immediately rolling out of bed and grabbing their phone, that's dictating what I'm doing in my day, right?
Okay.
I'm looking at my social or my email or my text messages, and now I'm reactionary to where I'm going. So don't touch the phone, don't touch any of the devices.
No matter how badly you want to.
Right. It's like almost pre-programmed that's what we want to do. And then after that, it's about committing the time. It's about finding the balance and what works best for you, right? I am one that likes to wake up early because it's the only peaceful time I have. I have 3 young kids and it's off to the races. And so I will typically wake up 30 minutes to an hour before just to have that time for me to set my anchor and ground myself a little bit. Some people like to sleep in, and as brokers, we got into this business because we can control our own schedule, or at least we thought when we started that way, right? And so whatever that is, but commit the time and then try to be consistent with what that time and that routine is. Yeah.
So it's have a routine is what I'm hearing from you. No devices, because that is kind of a rabbit hole. It takes you down that trap. But it also sounds like make it true to your life and kind of who and what you are in the time or the year that you're in, right? I was just at a breakfast, earlier today where I was with a lot of agents who are, newer moms, and they were just saying, as much as in a perfect world I'd love to do certain things, I'm way more reactive right now. So I think somebody like that is going to be different than somebody who maybe doesn't have as many commitments with other people in their world who can do something a little bit more steady. So I love that. Anything specific, any elements that people you feel like they should include in a morning routine? So I know hands off, no phone if you can, so that's a no-no, but what do you think people should be including in their mornings?
That's a great question. There's so many different things that I've heard people try and do over the
books,
years, and then Ninja has their morning routines on what it is. To me, it's always been about a core 2 things. It's gratitudes and visualization, right?
Okay.
I feel like I always like to start or push people to start with the gratitude piece. That could be I have a journal or I have a notebook where I just write my top 3 or 5 things that I'm grateful for, right? That puts me instantly in a positive mindset. There is no negativity in being grateful, right? That's automatically I'm positive.
You're forced to the
right.
good place.
You absolutely are. Then if you want to take it a little bit further, write a handwritten note, right? Include somebody else in sharing what you're grateful for or letting them know why you're grateful. The visualization is the second piece of it. Not here's all the things I need to do today, because that will take you down into the negative side of things, but visualizing almost what's the end result going to be, right? If I have a big listing presentation coming up, I'm not visualizing what I need to do in that listing presentation. I'm visualizing them signing the agreement and me now working with them, right? Or I'm visualizing the trip that I want to go on and why I set my goal, and I want to go to Japan for 2 weeks with my family, and here's what that trip's going to be like. And so the visualization sets me in a positive mode too. And I think those two, if you do almost nothing else and you just focus on gratitudes and visualization, you'll be ahead of the game.
Yeah, I love it. And I feel like there's one tip. I don't do it really often, but I've always thought this would be great. I mean, I tend to be a little bit more of a like, hey, let's start the day. Sometimes it really annoys my entire family, but I do. I come out high energy, and I'm usually always in a pretty positive mood, but I know that isn't it for everybody. And we all kind of have our mornings where it's a little harder to get up, get motivated, and get going. But I think somebody once told me, like, even getting out of your bed, and as you get out of the bed and your feet hit the ground, you say something like, today is going to be a great day. And, and even like Kevin Van Eck and I used to do stuff like this with each other. Like during COVID, we were like the only ones in this building most of the time. And we had a rule that when you walked into the office and you saw each other, it didn't matter what crap, like bad kid drop off, some bad phone call in the morning, we had to come in and be like, hey, how's your day? And we would make fun of each other. But I'm telling you, there were times where just the act of doing that, forcing yourself to bring energy and bring happiness, like kind of just channeling it through your body, it just kind of changed. Then we'd laugh, and then we would be on with the day.
And you're feeding off of each other, which is great, right?
Yeah, so it's like even something as simple as like figuring out how to anchor energy that, even like smiling, right? Like getting up and smiling and saying, you're great. And I know it sounds dumb, but, it can kind of change like the mentality for people, right? All right, so here we are talking about morning routine. Sounds really easy, and everyone's like, yeah, Kevin and Amy. Enough already. What if people are really kind of, struggling to be consistent about having a morning routine? I mean, that is like, I think that's hard, especially because I think for some people, it's like they've got it and they've done it for 3 days and it's great. And then day 4, something happened, something happened. So, what is your encouragement or your thoughts for people? Because I think that's the biggest thing in any kind of habit that we're trying to create. I think we really beat ourselves up when we've done it okay for a little bit and then we fall off. Fall off the horse. Or
no, I think that's a challenge, whether it's with morning routines, mindset, or prospect, anything that you do in business. I'm a believer in tomorrow doesn't dictate today, right? What happened yesterday doesn't translate into today, unless I allow it to, right? If I allow what I didn't do well yesterday to come into what I'm doing today, then it's going to go that route. And so, like, I love quotes. I love sharing kind of those affirmations with it.
I love you, Kevin. I love those.
So we had our small group meeting with the Ignite coaching group this morning, and so the quote that I put up there this morning was exactly that: how you can't control what tomorrow was. And the analogy was your car, right? As brokers, we live in our car. We're driving all over the place. The rear view mirror is small compared to the windshield for a reason, right? Because what's behind you doesn't dictate what I'm doing today. And so for me, just kind of forgetting about what happened, you're going to look at your losses or the challenges that happened and learn from them, but don't let them spill over into today. Today's a new day. I can start with my number 1 or 2 things I need to do in my morning routine, set my anchor, be positive in what I'm doing, and move forward. And what didn't work yesterday doesn't have to pour into what I'm doing today.
Yeah. And what has actually helped me with a morning routine is actually a wind down routine the night before. Because I think if I kind of like end my day in total chaos, that chaos for me kind of spills into the next morning because I don't have my list ready to go. I'm still in the morning digesting what was happening at the end of my night. So I actually think one of the ways to have a great morning routine is to serve yourself well by truly wrapping up the night. And that's reflecting on the day. As much as we get ready to, visualize our next day, taking some time, I think, to kind of wrap up the day, what worked, what didn't, what has to be moved over to the next day, like what is a non-negotiable that I have to get done. And I like to make a list at night so that I feel like when I'm going to bed, I'm like, okay, my thoughts are in order going to sleep, so that when I get up, I don't feel distracted or stressed about doing a morning routine because all this other stuff is seeping in. So what are your thoughts on, I mean, that's just one thing that I think has helped me. You know, I don't know your thoughts on it, or if that's something you do.
No, I agree
or
100% with that. I don't like to start my day planning that day. I like to, exactly like you said, review it at the end of the night. What did I accomplish? What didn't get done, right? So many people love to write to-do lists and all of that. When I was selling real estate, I did that, right? I had all my to-do lists, and I would write the top 10 things that I needed to do down on a piece of paper, and you'd look at it at the end of the night and you got almost none of them done, or you got your personal stuff done, right? Like I did the grocery shopping and picked up the dry cleaning. And so an exercise, and I think it was from a book that I read called The Green Zone, and it was one that I used to write the list out, the top 10, then I would go back and rank them at the end of the night, or what's the 10, like most important thing gets 1 through 10. Right? And so did I achieve all those? And then analyze it again the next night. And I still wasn't getting done what I needed to get done. And the exercise that ended up changing it for me was I would put a $ next to anything that was income generating, right? So if I had 10 things and only 3 of them had $ next to them, those are the things I had to get done, the non-negotiables for my day, instead of the other 7 things. Because I can hit Jewel at 9 o'clock at night. I can't call my client at 9 o'clock, or I hope I can for some of those clients. But that's what changed for me. So wrapping up your night with just kind of, I've accomplished my day, now I can put my computer down, my phone down, any of those things, go to bed, wake up the next morning, start my routine, and attack my day.
Yeah.
I think that's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of like the bookends, right?
Yeah.
How you end your day can really allow you to figure out how to have a more successful start to your day, right? All right, so I have a question for you on this. What do you think are things that people put into their morning routine that aren't necessary, or kind of don't always work, or maybe sometimes even roadblock people to kind of almost distract them? You know, the idea of the morning routine is to kind of get you going, and sometimes I feel like you can get hunkered down by like, I got to do this and I got to do this, and you know, it's like noon and I finished my morning routine. So any thoughts on kind of what people should maybe think about scrapping?
The number one thing for me in morning routine is no to-do lists, right? I always did my to-do list the night before where I analyze it, because if I write out my to-do list in the morning, then I'm thinking of all the things I need to do. I'm not being positive. I'm like, it almost gives me anxiety when I write down all the activities that I need to do. And so don't do to-do lists in the morning. If you have to analyze it the night before, and then wake up in the morning, review your to-do list, and then set your intentions, like the top 2 or 3 things that I need to accomplish today, not the 10 to 15 to-do lists. I think that's always been what's really moved the needle for me when I was selling or when I'm working with brokers, is just kind of take the noise out of it and focus on the 1, 2, or 3 most important things you need to do that day.
Yeah, it's kind of like simplify it, right?
Exactly.
And I think that kind of rolls into this, and I alluded to this a little bit earlier about, you know, people who are at a certain spot in their world where, you know, sometimes just getting up and getting moving is like as much of a morning routine, or, you know, people are traveling, or you suddenly get into the holidays or it's spring break, right? So do you have any thoughts or tips for people when, you know, their schedule feels a little out of flux? And, you know, because I think, you know, the morning can truly anchor you for the day, right? But like, what are your thoughts or suggestions? Again, because I think if we try to come from a space of, you know, a morning routine that is not flexible or isn't realistic with like the real world. Like I used to think like my morning routine failed if I didn't have some sort of workout in it. But then the reality is I just don't work out every single morning. I will find time. A lot of times I do it at night, which I actually enjoy because it actually helps me calm down a little bit from the end of the day. But so I had to realize, like, you know, I don't have to have it be so structured, and allow myself a little bit of grace in adjusting it. So, you know, what are your thoughts for people who are busy, or, you know, there's not any consistency, or they run into a rough patch when it comes to trying to be perfect?
I mean, you can't, it's impossible to plan for. In your perfect world, your morning routine should be a set 2, 3, or 4 things I do, right? And that usually will take you 15, 20, 30 minutes to get done. But if I'm on the move and I don't have that time, I should have one quick thing that gets me to that point. It could be a photo that I look at that helps me, you know, kind of stay positive with what it is. It could be a quote, an affirmation, a quick podcast or whatever that I listen to, but something that's your go-to that you can just quickly anchor yourself. Some people, it's one that they just get up in the morning, they have their routine, and then as they get done doing their hair or brushing their teeth in the morning, they look themselves in the mirror and say, you got this, or whatever your quote
You're
is to
amazing.
kind of motivate yourself to go through. But just, I would say, try to find that 1 30-second to a minute thing that just clears your head and sets you in a positive state. That's what I always look at. Mindset is about positivity. Like my whole thing, everybody says New Year's resolutions and all that. I will not follow anybody who's negative in 25. That's my goal, is just to be surrounding myself with positive people, because that gives me energy to give positivity out to others.
Yeah.
And so whatever puts you in a positive mindset, that would be your quick go-to.
I love it.
Yeah.
So whatever's going to anchor you, my friends, find that anchoring photo, quote, whatever it might be. I love that. And I also think too, because we both have lives with busy family and kids.
Yep.
And, one of the things that I've found so much better is kind of enlisting my family to be really aware of what I want to try to accomplish.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, if it's like a workout or it's a morning routine or it's something that I feel like I need to do, they come in and they want to kind of interrupt what's going on, and they don't always mean to do it, or maybe they do. But I think when they know, like, hey, this is super important, this is something I need to do to set my day and everything for success. I think that's important too. It's kind of like, let your family be a part of this journey and your success, right? From morning routine to your dial down at night, whatever it may be, right?
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. Well, Coach Kevin is amazing. There's going to be so much more this year than we are going to see tons of him, and I'm super excited. But I really appreciate you joining us this morning on Coffee. A little bit of mindfulness, a little bit about how to start your day. As we say all of the time, I hope you have a great Tuesday. Make it an awesome week. And until we see you next time, remember, do you know what we say, Coach Kevin?
You got this.
Come on, with the
Here
mug.
we go.
With the mug. You
got
got
this.
this.